If you're a graphic designer, or want to be, you probably already know that using mockups to take your flat designs and put them onto real-life objects is the best way to bring your projects to life. In fact, I would say that when I started taking the time to showcase my brand identities with some really great mockups, that was the number one thing that helped me go from getting a lot of change requests and edits and rounds of revisions to getting my projects greenlit without any changes almost every single time, and I end up with happy clients. It's really worth the effort. But if you're just hopping on Google and doing a little search every time you realize you might need a mockup, and then just slapping a logo on an image and calling it a day, it's time to level up. So today, I'm going to break down 3 ways that you can level up your game and use mockups like a pro. If we're just meeting, I'm Janelle. I've been a freelance graphic designer for 15 years now, and I have made every possible mistake on the path to becoming a creative professional, including that it took me a long time to get on this train. Honestly, mockups were kind of new in the prehistoric days that I was becoming a graphic designer, and it felt fairly technical and kind of involved, and so a lot of times I just didn't bother. It felt overwhelming, and so I was like, it's good enough, I'll just show files. And that was a big mistake. Honestly, mockups are one of the easiest ways to take yourself from, I make some logos sometimes, to I help you strategize your entire brand journey and create a flexible, responsive suite of elements that your brand can use in the future, and here's how. When we spend our days on screens making digital things and then talking to people on Zoom to show them those digital things, everything can start to feel a little vague, a little fuzzy, a little intangible. And what's great about mockups is even though it's also a digital thing, it helps our brains see things in the real world. They're tangible and physical and real, and now we can imagine what the use is in real life. They give substance to these digital things that you're making for someone, and it adds value. When you're coming up with mockups, you really want to use them in 3 different ways. For yourself, to test out how something is going to look on a physical package, to see scale and positioning and tweak alignments and arrangements and really see how the thing is going to work. If you need to adjust anything before you show it to someone, it can be really helpful, not just as a presentation tool, but as part of your process to kind of see what does this need to look like. And sometimes you can get good ideas for fresh ways to use elements or graphics or patterns by playing around with how they look on a mockup before you even show it to a client. For clients, you want to use them to help people who have a hard time visualizing these flat things and see them in real life so they fall in love with what you've made. It's a lot easier to love a brand that's on a mug that you're going to imagine sitting down with and having a cup of coffee in than it is to see a little JPEG that's on a screen. And this is really the magic that 15 minutes making a mockup can do. It helps people fall in love with their brands. And it's beautiful to watch. It's one of my favorite parts of the whole process, when I get to show someone how I've made something and help them see what it could really look like. I even use mockups of books to help me showcase digital files like brand guidelines that are always going to live online. Because when I've spent weeks making an 80-page document for someone that is really detailed and layered, sometimes it feels a little flimsy when it's just the digital file. But when you see it as this book that's laid out for someone, even though it's never going to be a physical book, it adds value and definitiveness, and it makes the whole thing feel more worth it. It adds value to this big asset that you've made for them and helps it feel like a really worthwhile investment on their part. That leads me to the 3rd thing that you should always try to do, which is to show what's possible for the brand. How far can you take it? How do patterns and graphic elements play in real life? What other things could they make with their brand? You're emphasizing the value of all those extra pieces you took the time to make, like logo alternates and spot illustrations and icon sets and patterns. You're showcasing the real value of your service and helping them imagine the possibilities of their responsive branding suite. If you're designing for a product-based business, you're helping them envision how their thing can look in a physical space, even before you've taken on official package design. And if you're creating for a service-based business, it can be even more useful because sometimes it can be a little bit hard to imagine how these graphics actually exist in the world when you're not creating a thing, but instead providing a service for someone. So mockups can really help sell that for someone. Okay, so all of that is great. Hopefully you're sold on why this is worthwhile. But as promised, here are 3 ways that you can level up your use and really treat this part of your business like a pro. First, and probably the biggest game changer, is to build your own library of mockups that you love on your computer. Take control of the process. Don't just search for one-offs when you have a project that's coming up. Set aside a session or two, scroll through mockup sites, and download a bunch of things at once. If you just download a mockup, you're going to get a zip file, and it's probably going to have a weird name that doesn't actually help you remember what it is. So go one step further after you download them, unzip them all, and then take them all out of their containing files with their dumb names. Build a filing cabinet for yourself. Make folders of the different kinds of mockups you want to gather, and then actually take out the file itself, the one you need to use, and drop it in there. So then when you're flipping through your reserves, you're seeing preview images of what the thing actually is and not some weird name that you can't remember. It saves so much time in the future from having to go back and try to remember what you've downloaded and then probably going on and re-downloading it. Build yourself a library. Tip 2 is to adjust the mockup to fit your needs. Sometimes these files can feel a little intimidating, but they're actually really easy to edit and get in there and tweak them and make them your own. Yeah, you can change the color of something, but you can also change a background image. If you don't like the texture, you can change it. You can add a filter so that it fits the feel of your project. My favorite thing to do is to take brand patterns or spot illustrations and add them to the background of the mockups that I'm using. So you're not just showcasing an object, you're helping showcase how the brand lays out in different ways, and it makes the whole thing feel really custom, because it is. Swap out elements you don't like, combine different mockups together, add pieces to the image that give it dimension. You can control this. My third tip is don't just use mockups to showcase the logo that you've made. Use it as a way of dreaming about the possibilities and helping to pitch for projects that they haven't actually contracted for. Show what brand extensions could look like. Packaging, merch, swag, deliverables that expand on this project with. Maybe you put together some quick social media templates and show what it would look like on a phone. That leads the way to a conversation about how you offer social media branding services. Maybe you show the cover of an annual report. By the way, did you know that I also offer information design if that's something that you're interested in the future? You get the idea. Use this space as a way to not just showcase what you've made for them, but help them dream about what their new responsive brand can do in the future. Just for fun, to show how much I love doing this in my own work, here's a brand I did recently for an impact investment DAO that helps local communities in different countries ethically develop their natural resources. It was a really fun project, but if I had just left it here, it would have felt a little flat. And here are the mockups that I created when I presented the brand direction. Seeing the brand this way helped me get sign-off with 0 revisions from multiple brand partners, and everyone walked out of that meeting excited about the new project. And that is the power of mockups. If you want to see how this works in real time, watch this video next, where I created a brand from scratch and then presented it with mockups. See you there!